What does anybody do to try and slow down this Alabama offense?
Well, I think there has to be a similar plan, and that starts with what you do on the offensive side of the ball, and that is, running the football. And I think Ohio State has the ability to run the football, but they also have, great playmakers on the perimeter. And, we would have liked to have a little bit more firepower on the perimeter. I think Ohio State has that. But I think it starts with their ability to run the football and to use some clock. Now, look, you do want to limit some of the possessions. That is an all-star offense that they have at Alabama. So limiting some possessions would be a smart thing to do. And I think you start there and then you build it accordingly.
Since you played them, their star receiver, DeVonta Smith, won the Heisman. I think everyone was really moved by his speech. His kid weighs 175 pounds, and there he was talking about how he was never the biggest and he was always doubted. You just played against him. How would you describe him, particularly for fans out there who might be anticipating their team drafting him at the next level?
Interesting. He's a football player. I mean, and I know that sounds like a general term, but he just knows the nuances of the game. He doesn't look imposing or intimidating, but knows how to run routes, get out of routes, knows how to use body position, electric when he catches the football, separates. He was born to play this game, and just some are, they just and when you talk about the weapons that they have, he just complements that offense so well. Now, if you talk about Waddle coming back as well, who knows how to really put that offense into a neutral situation because they're so electric.
Yeah, that seems to be a possibility. Jalen Waddle, who frankly was the more highly touted player than Smith was before he broke his ankle, might come back and play this week. He's been practicing. We will see. Brian Kelly is with me, head coach of Notre Dame. And how about Mac Jones? I'm just curious about him. I asked this one actually for self-serving reasons because, as you know, I'm a fan of the Jets, and they're in the market for a quarterback, and he's a guy who's going to be draft eligible this year. What would be your scouting report on him, having just faced him?
I think a lot of people look at him and say there's nothing spectacular about him, but yet, he does everything right. I don't know that there's an inherent weakness that you look at him. He's physically really imposing in person. He's big, he's strong, he's smart. He looks ready-made in my sense of looking at quarterbacks in terms of their physical presence. He's well coached. He's in a system that, is direct snap and shotgun. I just think he's a guy that can step in and compete right away in the NFL, and certainly has great weapons around him. But wherever he goes, he's going to have NFL players around him that can make plays.
Brian Kelly with me, the head coach of Notre Dame. So we'll see. We look forward to that. Alabama and Ohio State. While I have you, I was looking over some of the rosters of the playoff teams, and you got a bunch of guys who played for you who are getting ready to play this weekend. In particular, I was looking at Pittsburgh, where Chase Claypool has been so good in his rookie year, and they've got Stephon Tuitt and all that. What is it like for you as a coach to watch your players competing on this enormous stage, here in the NFL playoffs this week, and maybe some of them going on to the Super Bowl?
It's a fun weekend. You mentioned all the games that are on this weekend. As a college coach, it's really exciting for me because I don't really have a particular horse in a game. I look for my former players. And so I can put on the red zone, for example, and just look for different players that have played at Notre Dame and have played for me at Cincinnati, whether it's Kelsey or, Claypool or, and a number of those guys, and just root for them. It's fun to watch them and see how they have moved from college onto the NFL and made a big difference. A guy like Claypool, for example, coming out as a rookie to make an impact in his first year has been fun to watch.
Oh, he's been unbelievable, and they spread it around. Ben spreads it around. That's why I always say it's hard to predict because one week it's Juju, and then one week it's Deontay Johnson, and the next week it's Claypool. But he really burst onto the scene with that one huge game somewhat early in the season, and he's been really good. Did you see him being this much of a factor in the NFL this quickly?
Mike, here's the whole thing, right? I mean, he's out of Canada, and a lot of people didn't know about him. He comes to our program. He develops over, 4 years. He stays in the program. And we knew he had competitive traits. I look for guys that want to beat you in checkers. This guy loves to compete, and we knew he had that. And sometimes you don't get a chance to see that when draft analysts look at things, they look at film and they watch him in film, and that's a great way to evaluate. But I get a chance to see him a little bit different, where he wants to win in everything he does, and you can see that starting to come out. When rookies make an impact, they have an edge and they have a trait, and that's really what's allowing him to have success in his film season.
Brian Kelly from Notre Dame with me. Let me ask you one more thing before we go. We talked multiple times, you and I, during the season, and I know that this year was a grind unlike any other, and you really never had a chance to sort of step back and maybe look at it big picture because it was just so insane. So now that you have had a chance maybe to catch your breath a little bit over the last week and a half, how would you put into words what this season was for you, for all the kids who play for you, and for everybody in college football?
Amazing. An incredible success story that college football was able to get in. We got one more game to go. Let's hope we get it in, right? But one more game to actually go through a pandemic, not have these 18 to 22-year-olds in a bubble, to ask them to sacrifice the way they have to put together a full season is an amazing accomplishment. And with the exception of a couple of bad games where things got out of hand, this was an amazing season, and the accomplishments of college football to be able to get this season completed the way it was.